Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the Score Signs. My name is Luke and this isn't the Everton Stadium update, unfortunately. Right now there's currently a flight ban around Liverpool City Centre, so unfortunately we've not been able to actually get the drone up and we won't be able to up until next week. So are planning on dropping the ban on the 12th of August, but I've got me apprehensions on it just because this was meant to be last week, but they ends up extending it. So there's very little to say that they won't extend it again. But yeah, so looking over this right now, you've got ourselves a nice little time lapse. Well, not necessarily a time lapse, a comparison of what the site before most of the work started and pretty much as recent as possible that we could actually get. This being late July of this year, so literally a couple of weeks ago. There hasn't been too much an update, to be fair, so we're not missing out on too much. The players and everything have actually been inside the stadium, likewise with Sean Dyche, and I've actually had a little chat with some of the guys on the site as well. So when they said that the completion date is going to be December of this year, what they essentially mean is they're handing the keys over to Everton so Everton can do their own personal touches of the stadium. So this is like interior painting, it's going to be like banners, bits like that. You know, like if you've ever been around Goodison Park, you got like the little posters here and there, Vault Everton legends and Everton quotes, stuff like that. That's all going to get layered out inside. So essentially it's kind of like when you buy a house. Pretty much they give you the base of the house, so basically you could go in and live in it, but it's not going to be personalised to your wants. It's pretty much they're handing over the keys now to Everton so that they can do their own little personal touches on bits here and there. But yeah, looking over the site as well, it's amazing to see how things have actually come along, as we've probably seen there with a couple of the transitions. It was quite literally just a wet hole in the ground not 3 years ago. Just over 3 years ago. Well, yeah, ever so slightly over 3 years ago. It was quite literally just a wet hole in the ground. There was still a warehouse where I'm coming up to now, and that warehouse was actually used in Peaky Blinders, apparently. I believe it was a bar scene or something like that. Bar or warehouse scene, I think they were actually using it for. And they were using it while we were actually doing work. So when groundwork and everything was getting done, that was actually getting used, so they had to do a lot of editing apparently to get rid of all the modern construction equipment and stuff like that. But yeah, it actually made me quite nostalgic looking over this as well. Just thinking about all the times I've actually flown over this, all the people I've ran into and talked to, some of the relationships I've built over the course of time. You know, the likes of Nick, Baz, SS Sky, CP Overview, Casey Imageworks, all those guys that I've ran into whilst flying, and that we've had our little chats and everything, talked about football, talked about Everton. We've just had such great times and whatnot, just talking about football while we've been flying. And it's been nice. It has been nice. And I'll be honest, things haven't really set in on how much of a finality this season of Goodison is. They didn't sink in until I actually got my season ticket. So when I got that commemorative pack and I was looking at it, and it gave you the 1892 to 2025, that really set things home. I actually had to sit there for a minute and just think about it. Thinking about all the memories that have been at Goodison that I will still remember, but I'll never be able to, you know, go and sort of relive. Like, one of my first matches was in the family enclosure. My first season ticket being in the family enclosure as well. So times when I was in the Park End. So the 08-09 season when we beat Liverpool in the FA Cup, I was there for that. That goal by Dan Gosling. And I remember my mum and stepdad being a few rows below us, all of us celebrating and screaming and cheering. The time when we went over into the Lower Gladys, all the people I've met in the Lower Gladys, and I'm going to end up, for the final season, I'm not even going to be in the Lower Gladys for 99% of it, because I'm going to be in the paddock with my granddad, because thanks to Everton, we need to try and make things a little bit easier for him. So we've decided to make that decision of going into the paddock with Everton's assistance. They can help us get him to a seat, because his mobility is pretty much not there anymore, unfortunately, and it is heartbreaking to see him in that way. And getting him to a seat in the Lower Gladys would be nigh impossible, unfortunately, because we're pretty much about halfway up of that Lower Gladys, and getting him to a seat, you're talking about 20 or 30 steps, and anyone here will more than likely know how bloody steep the lower ladder steps are. So getting them that seat in the paddock was an absolute godsend, because I want them to enjoy this last season at Goodison Park before we go to Bramley Moor. And I'm hoping we can get them into the Bramley Moor and get them to somewhere where it's a lot more convenient. Now, someone did actually mention to me, why do I call it the new Everton Stadium and why do I not really call it the Bramley Moor? To be honest, I think it's more easier to call it the new Everton Stadium, even though I've called it the Bramley Moor a couple of times here. And sometimes some people get it confused. If I mention the Bramley Moor, they might be thinking of the pub. But to be honest, if it was the pub, I would be calling it the Bramley Moor pub. But yeah, looking over everything here right now, it is nice to see the progress that's been made over these 3 years, and the work that's been done by the Land O'Rourke team is just greatly, greatly appreciated. They've worked so hard and through all sorts of bad weather, you know, all the trials and tribulations, all the things that have happened on this site. They've really done such amazing work, and I know a lot of them are Evertonians, and I know quite a few of them are Liverpudlians, so yeah, I take my hats off to a lot of the people who've worked on this site, because it's not been an easy job in the slightest. I mean, I've not really set foot on site, but I can tell from over the years watching this, all the work that's gone into this, it's a monumental feat. I mean, even just the infill alone was a massive job on its own, and they've done such an amazing job getting that done in a timely manner. But yeah, all I can say is this last season of Goodison is going to be a real heartstring puller. And it's one that every single game is going to have a little bit of a tear, because it's going to be the last one. You know, like the last Merseyside derby, the last Everton Man City game, the last oldest game in English football being Everton v Aston Villa is going to be there. That's going to be the last game at that stadium. And that's going to be one hell of a one, because we've sort of developed a bit of a kinship with Aston Villa now. But in any case, guys, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and have a great week. Up the fucking toffees.